Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Thanks for watching today, and I hope you had a good weekend. And then we start our work week here tomorrow. So weather-wise, it's been well, today it's warmer than it was yesterday, which was Saturday. So it's some melting out there. We did get a little bit of snow, excuse me, late last night, but you know, it's just too warm out there for it to stick, so it's been melting pretty quick. And I guess you know, it's so far this winter's been kind of mild. We haven't really got that many cold days, so it's I know people are saying, oh, they say that this winter is going to be a really bad winter this year. Well, not really. I guess it all depends on what you consider bad. I know from the generation I grew up in, when we had snowstorms, we had snowstorms, okay? We didn't get like just 2 or 3 inches. We're talking about 2 or 3 feet of snow, but we don't get that shit anymore here. I mean, even if after they plow the roads, we still don't get 2 or 3 foot snowbanks. Okay, it's just what it is. It's a lot of ice, mostly. And that creates its own problems with the power lines and the roads and you know, so yeah, but yeah, we certainly don't get those amounts anymore. In my father's time, well, of course he lived up in Caribou when he was a kid, but back then they used to get, you know, 10-foot snowbanks on the road from the plows going by after the snow, and so they would get quite a bit up there, you know, back in his day, like in the 50s, I guess. So, yeah. So anyway, there's this friggin' clown here from MAGA, who apparently has a boner here for trying to start a fight with people on the left. His name is Jaden Scott, and there's a video here that I want to play for you. From Raw News. She really breaks down what this guy is and, you know, what's going on with him. Apparently he's having a real bad time of it right now because he ran his mouth somewhere at a goddamn protest, and everybody got his face all over the internet, and he's like lost his job and his bank accounts are frozen. I mean, you know, a lot of things that happen to this guy for the things that he said at the protest. You know, it's like, you know, and of course, you know, the right wing always sits here and bitches about First Amendment rights. Well, okay, you know, but when people were talking about Charlie Kirk being killed and anyone that said anything negative about him, you guys turn around and got a bunch of people that were talking shit about him fired from their jobs and whatever, okay? Now that the table has turned, they don't like it. But, you know, from what I understand, a lot of people didn't like this Jaden Scott, especially from on the right wing. So I guess they're going to kind of throw him under the bus. But let's go to that video here, and then we'll talk more about that after.
Welcome to the show. I have a bit of good news to share with you guys, which we could all use right now. So do you guys remember this man? And I use that word loosely. This was from last week. You might recognize this guy. If you haven't seen this video, I highly recommend you go and and find it and watch it. But this was the guy who was recorded outside an ICE facility in Minnesota. This happened the day after Renee Good was executed by Jonathan Ross. So anti-ICE protesters were there. They, of course, were just chanting and giving ICE some shit over everything. So this guy is there. He's pacing around, looking like a Nazi, screaming through his bullhorn. He's one of Nick Fuentes' little incel. Well, actually, the shocking thing about this guy, as you're going to hear, is he's not an incel. I was blown away to hear that he's not an incel. He's not a closeted gay man. I would have thought, but apparently not. So anyway, he's there. He's screaming through a bullhorn. He's telling the protesters things like, keep your hands to yourself. You're going to get hurt today. He, famously or infamously yelled, "We executed one of you yesterday." And then he was also screaming a bunch of QAnon type bullshit. Oh, where we go one, we go all. And then this is my favorite. He's screaming, "No one can stop what's coming." Okay. And you can see in the photo, like he looks psycho. Like the guy looks like he just is about to bust a blood vessel in his head and just he needs to be locked up in a mental institution. And he does, honestly, as you're going to hear. But anyway, that last one, the whole, "Oh, no one can stop what's coming," that is particularly funny to me because, as you guys all know, I covered all of the January 6th cases, and that's what they were all screaming on January 6th at the Capitol. They kept screaming, "Oh, no one can stop what's coming." And they kept saying it in the lead up to January 6th. And yet, like 2 weeks later, Joe Biden took office. About 1,500 Trump supporters were arrested. A bunch of them went to jail and prison. So, I guess they were right. No one could stop what was coming, but, that meant to them. Like they couldn't stop what was coming. So anyway, that man in the photo, his name is Jaden Scott. Scott was just forced out of his own company because of that unhinged behavior. So this is just so good. Apparently, he founded a company in 2022 called Harmony Investment Group. Well, last Saturday, he posted online and he admitted that he resigned from the company. And he said, "Oh, it's because of what's going on in the country and a difference of opinion with me and the board of directors, for the direction of the company or the country, blah, blah, blah." So anyway, I found that. And then I also found something else. There was a TikTok video that Scott recently made. And in this video, you can see he's like in a basement somewhere. He says he's in a bunker. And he admits that he got kicked out of his apartment. So guy has lost his job, lost his apartment. He said that his Chase bank accounts have been frozen. So like all you think of is like Eddie Murphy, no home, dog walking, no home, motherfucker. Like something, I forget what it was. Because you don't pick up after the dog, Eddie. You don't pick up after the dog. There's shit everywhere. No home, walking the dog. Anyway, you got to go watch that. I think it was on Raw, Eddie Murphy's Raw. Anyway, so Scott said he resigned because he wants to fight the commies full time. This guy is such a cosplaying douchebag. So anyway, even a Republican group is now distancing themselves from this nut job. So in a Facebook post on January 8th, the admin of the group called Republicans of Bay County, Michigan, he posted this. So he wrote, "Notice to the group, Jaden Scott has been stirred up again." I like how they put that. Like he didn't stir himself up. He's been stirred up. They never take responsibility. Anyway, he goes on to say, "I've gone ahead and banned him from my groups and blocked him. He chose to walk a path that is not a part of the American or Christian way, and I'm not willing to go there or host it here. I would be surprised if he didn't make some posts about me. I don't care and don't need defending. And then he goes on to quote a Bible verse. And then this guy, Peter, I should say in his group, people were leaving comments, of course, and someone posted this in the comments. So I know it's very small, but what this is excerpts from court cases against Jaden Scott. So this has to do with criminal contempt proceedings and a request to amend his visitation with his child. Not that he's asking for an amendment, but the child's mother is asking for it to be amended. Gee, I wonder why. I mean, disturbing to know that someone would actually procreate with this guy. But anyway, it shows Scott is a deadbeat dad. It shows that he is behind in child support payments by more than $12,000. So the court ordered him to spend 7 days in jail because of this. And then in another section, it mentions that Scott violated court orders and he was held in contempt while he was giving testimony in the courtroom. And then in the section that you see in the bottom lower right corner, it says, quote, defendant to seek and get anger management, counselor ASAP. And it says that after 3 verified sessions, the court would increase his visitation with his child to the first 3 Saturdays of the month. And it says, quote, use of AirTags to continue. Exchange of child to continue at safe place. If not available, then BC Police Department. And then it orders him to reimburse his ex for the cost of an AirTag that he destroyed. So they trust this guy so little, like he has blown it so bad that he has to use an AirTag so they can keep track of where he is with his kid. And then he's gone to jail because he refuses to take care of his child. Because, you know, the right is all about family and the party of family values and taking care of children. And, oh, we can't have abortion because what about the babies and the children? But, you know, once they're here, they don't give a damn. So why should he pay child support? So this is narcissism and a narcissistic spoiled brat on steroids. And then check out this video I found. So this is what you're going to hear is a gubernatorial candidate who allegedly was threatened by Scott. I'm not going to play the entire video because it just goes on, but he is just rolling out the insults against Jaden Scott. So here is a taste of what he had to say.
I informed you guys that I received a phone call on 12/22 at 12:11 a.m. threatening my life. A man stated he was outside my home and waiting for me to fall asleep so he could kick the door down and slice my throat open as I was sleeping. That man has been identified as Jaden Scott. The same Jaden Scott that yelled, "We executed one of you" at an ICE protest in Minnesota last week. The same Jaden Scott that has a warrant in Saginaw. The same Jaden Scott that has recently lost his parenting time with his son, and the same Jaden Scott that owns an RV that he wrapped with my face and my logo for my campaign on it. Hey, Jaden. Yeah, you, buddy. The human participation trophy who somehow convinced himself that he actually belongs in the conversation. You strut around like you're some kind of alpha when the only thing you've ever dominated is the comment section of your own failing Instagram. Your whole personality is just a midlife crisis that started in high school and never got the memo to grow up. We've seen your big moves, and they look like the career trajectory of a guy who peaked at beer pong in 2018 and has been riding the fumes of daddy's last name ever since. Your confidence isn't earned, son. It's rented, and the repo man is circling the block. You talk tough online, but fold faster than lawn furniture in a hurricane when real pressure shows up.
So it goes on from there for like another minute or so, but he just keeps slamming him with one-liners, how pathetic Scott is. So anyway, this Scott guy appears to be miserable. He just seems like a miserable person, and he is a ticking time bomb. I have no doubt that that behavior, the psychotic episodes that he displays out in public, like if you can imagine if that's what he's doing in public, what is this guy like behind closed doors? Like, I don't know this woman who had a child with him, but I feel for her. I really do. I don't know her, political persuasion, but it doesn't matter. Like, this guy should have never gotten involved with him. You should have never had a child with him. I don't know how he tricked her, but this is scary. I would never, never leave my child with this person. I wouldn't leave a fly with this person. So anyway, guys, there you go. This is what happens. So, fuck around and find out has come for Jaden Scott. Lost his job, lost his place to live, lost his bank accounts. Keep going, Jaden. Keep going. It's working out well for you. The path you're on, the choices you're making, they're going really well. You're doing really good for yourself. All right. Thanks so much, guys. Please like, please share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.
Okay, so yeah, as you can see, this guy's a real piece of shit. Okay. And I feel like, he wants to go out and fight commies. Of course, that's what, they call left-wing people, right? Like that's what we are. Okay. It reminds me of, an episode of The Boys. I don't know how many of you watch it. But the series, which, is based, with some superheroes and stuff like that, is really more of a mirror being reflected at us about how we are as a people in this country, how stupid we are and how gullible we are and how we follow idiots. And okay, this guy here reminds me of one of these characters from The Boys who is completely fucking brainwashed. Okay, completely brainwashed. And he ruins his own life by being involved in this cultish fever that exists in MAGA. And like she said, this is a guy who would probably more than likely get involved in some kind of a crime, because it looks like he's building up to something like that, which dovetails back into what I was saying, a long time back about how it's always the right wing that does all the violence out there. They're the ones that do the assassination plots, and the attempts, and they're the ones that are always screaming for chaos. And of course, January 6th is another example. I mean, there weren't any Democrats in that fucking crowd that was out there storming the Capitol. It was all Republicans. And like I said, this is what you get with the right wing. Okay, the more extreme they get mentally, the more violent they become. And yeah, I mean, we do have people on the left occasionally that talk like they're going to do something, and everything. But it's only because at the point of where we tried to be peaceful about it so much before, we don't rush into get the guns and all that stuff right off the bat like the right wing does. No, we try to do it peacefully at first. But if they keep agitating them, and we take a lot of it, okay? We take a lot before we cross the line, okay? With the right wing, the line isn't even there. Okay, you say anything to these fucking people that goes against their beliefs, and they come after you with fists, with guns, whatever they got in their hands. Okay, they're just violent by nature. And this guy here, I hope somebody's keeping an eye on him, because his life is falling apart all around him. He's feeling really agitated about political matters. He'll flip. One of these days, his name's going to come up in the news where he killed somebody, Or, you know what I'm saying? Why wait? In my opinion, why wait? Get this guy off the streets. Put him in a fucking nut house or something. You know, he needs some fucking time to work things out, you know, in his head, because he's obviously gotten way too involved in politics that he can't stand it. You know, some people are made to deal with politics. Other people can't. It's too stressful for them. It brings up too many things that they can't handle. It affects their livelihoods. They get confrontational. You know, they lose their friends. You know, these people cannot deal with politics. So they should just stay out of it, because it's not a healthy thing for them. And because we have so many people that shouldn't be in politics that are in it, it's become a very toxic environment to be able to do political discussions. You can't talk to these people, all right? And if you're not willing to sit down and discuss things to come to a mutual agreement, then what's the point of having conversation at all with these people? You know, that's my point, is that, you know, because politics, especially in a democracy, hinges on people saying their piece and coming to to an agreement somewhere that both can live with. But we can't seem to do that anymore. We don't have that ability, because everybody wants everything their way. They want 100%. They want it their way, not realizing that in a true democracy, nobody gets 100% of anything. Okay? Nobody does. You have to give to get. You know, and as soon as people figure that out, you know, maybe they'll understand what a democracy is. But people today want everything their way, you know, and that's just not going to work. You cannot keep a democracy under those conditions. It's just not possible. All right, so let me go to an article here. Okay, this is a local issue here in the state here. Maine pauses issuance of undercover license plates after request from border security. Let's see. Maine officials are pausing the issuance of undercover license plates after receiving a request for plates from federal border security authorities that comes amid rumors that a wave of immigration enforcement actions could soon be carried out in the state. Secretary of State Sheena Bellows said Saturday that the Maine Bureau of Motor Vehicles, which is housed in the Secretary of State's office, received a request for confidential undercover Maine plates from U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Bellows did not say when exactly that request came in. Quote, these requests, in light of rumors of ICE deployment to Maine and abuses of power in Minnesota and elsewhere, raise concerns, unquote. She said in a written statement, quote, we have not revoked existing plates but have paused issuance of new ones. We want to be assured that Maine plates will not be used for lawless purposes, unquote. A spokesperson for Bellows said Saturday that additional information was not immediately available, including how many plates were requested and whether CBP has made such requests in the past. A media contact for CBP did not immediately respond to questions from the Press Herald on Saturday night seeking details of the request and the agency's response to the Secretary of State's pause on the issuance of new undercover plates. The action comes as rumors have been circulating that ICE could expand its operations in Maine cities. The suggested raids have not yet materialized, and the federal government has not shared details. Federal authorities earlier this week placed an order for cold weather gear for U.S. Customs and Border Protection in Holton. At least one federal law enforcement agency has raised concern about the pause on undercover plates. Ryan Guay, a supervisory deputy U.S. Marshal for the U.S. Marshals Service District of Maine, said he went Friday to register the agency's fleet of vehicles via email with the Secretary of State's office and was told the state is not offering, quote, covert status, unquote, for federal agencies. In the past, Guay said the Marshals Service has been able to obtain undercover plates in order to carry out law enforcement operations. The Marshals Service is a federal agency that supports the judicial branch, including by executing federal court orders, providing security for the judiciary, managing federal prisoners, and apprehending criminals. Gui said he was surprised to learn of the change and was not told it is temporary. He said that he was not given a specific reason for the change and said it poses a safety risk for the Marshals Service. Quote, "This is a drastic change from historical precedent that gives us great concern," he said. Quote, "We often do sensitive investigations or deal with protected persons, and we don't want to advertise that they are affiliated with us," unquote. Gui said Saturday that he was trying to figure out next steps for his agency. Quote, "I'm engaged with our national office and offices around the country to kind of figure out what to do, as this is not a common occurrence at all," unquote, he said. Sounds to me like everybody's like, and of course this was expected completely, that everybody in Maine doesn't seem to understand that Trump is bullying his way into the state. Whether they give them fucking plates or not, they're coming, okay? And everybody in Maine is like, whoa, you know, it's like, oh, come on, people. This shit's been going on all fucking last year in Maine, you know. And we've already had some incidents in Maine where ICE has already picked up people anyway, okay? You mean to tell me all of a sudden now it's like you've been caught with your pants down in the bathroom? I mean, give me a break. You guys know this shit was coming. You weren't even ready for that? Come on. So now they're going to show up in this state, whether you give them plates or not, okay? Trust me, that's going to happen. And they're going to come in here and bulldoze their way into this fucking town and all the other fucking towns in Maine, doing the same goddamn thing they were doing in Minneapolis and, you know, in the whole state of Minnesota, okay? That's what's going to happen. Same fucking thing here, okay? Now, the fact that, you know, everybody in Maine, which is, you know, our government in this state has really got a lot to learn about fucking governing, okay? They're always behind the ball when it comes to issues. And this here should have been a fucking red flag from way back months ago that, okay, we're, you know, especially after Mills and Trump had their little spat, they should have expected this was going to happen. I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner, to be honest. I figured Maine would already be getting, you know, a crackdown here with Border Patrol and ICE and all that other shit. They should have been ready for this. They should have been ready for this. And when the calls came in, you know, about the why we want plates, okay, they should have understood this was coming, and they should have had a contingency for that very thing. But they didn't, as usual. Okay, that's why I say this state is always like so far behind everybody else. You know, it doesn't matter if we get a Democrat or a Republican for a governor in this state. We always end up with an economy that needs help. Okay, it never seems to get fixed. I mean, we lose jobs all the fucking time in this state. There's no reason for anyone to move here because there is no work in this state. Okay, and we got the highest taxes in all of the United States. Okay. We're up there right next to shoulder with California. Now, does Maine look like California to you? Okay, so how the fuck does this state justify that? It doesn't. Okay, but we don't have anything in this state except a border that connects Maine to Canada, and that's the only asset, okay, that this state has, because with that border and the Canadians that would come down here during the summer, that was our revenue. Now that's gone thanks to Trump, okay? So what the hell does he expect, you know, for people here? I mean, with the border closed, there shouldn't be any fucking, you know, movement. I mean, they're already saying down in the south, you know, in Texas, the border's down that way, in Mexico, that, oh, they're seeing a historic drop in crossings. Yeah, of course they are, because they just shut the border down altogether, okay? And they're not taking, you know, even if people have the right to cross the border, they ain't letting you in. You know, fuck you. That's what this, you know, that's what they're doing. They just shut it down. Okay, so nobody coming and going. Yeah, that's the reason why. Same thing up in Canada here, you know, or the border there. Okay, the Canadians are afraid to come down here. Okay, now that they know that ICE is going to be in this state, you can bet your ass they're not going to come down here at all this summer. Okay, so you can forget about any crossings up here. So what the hell does ICE need to do in this state. You know, who are they going after? Okay, if there's any illegals still in this state that haven't left already, I mean, they're wasting their time. Okay, there shouldn't be any. I mean, yeah, we got a bunch of Chinese restaurants around, but those people don't cause any problem. They feed us, for Christ's sake, you know. You know, and they've been here for years. You know, so what, if anything, they're going to hurt the state by being here, by rounding up people at work and do things from in you know, in various parts of Maine. You know, they're going to hurt the state even more. So I don't know. I really don't know. But you know, I found it laughable reading that article, and it sounding like everybody in Augusta is all like, oh, you know what, you know, like their head's been spun around, like they never expected this. I mean, wake up, people. You know, this shit's been going on for months, and you guys are only now. You know, come on. So like I said, you know, I don't know how it was in Minnesota, if they were given a heads up about things coming in beforehand, because it seems to me like Trump did the same thing there. He just marched them in there without much warning given. And that's what's going to happen here. Okay? It ain't going to matter if they get plates or not to put on their vehicles. They're just going to come in here anyway and do what they're doing. Okay? Fuck the plates. You know, they figure, well, we're federal officers. We can come into any state we want, whenever we want. Okay? It's the fuck with your laws. Because they don't care. They're not doing anything above board. You know, they don't follow any procedures. They don't follow, you know, people's rights. They don't do any of the things that cops do, okay? And they're supposed to, but they don't. And it's so quick for them to go to the gun whenever they feel like they're, you know, when they think, oh, I'm being assaulted, or my life is in danger. Okay, right. Well, you're the one with the gun, but everyone else doesn't have a gun, but you're the one in danger. Okay. Crazy fucking people. But yeah, that's kind of what's going on here, you know. And I think that, you know, people in Maine, when they finally show up, yeah, you'll see protests, but you're also going to see people in Maine who love ICE and will embrace them when they come across the border, because we got a lot of pro-ICE motherfuckers up here. Okay. And they ain't got a problem with ICE coming in there, storming their fucking homes and all that shit, right? They don't care. And if anyone ICE agent told them to get on their knees and give them a blowjob, they'd happily do it. Okay? That's what we got in this state. Okay? So don't tell me the state of Maine is blue. It ain't. It never has been. In my lifetime, we've had Democrat governors, but it's always been red. Maine has always been a red state. Okay? And I realize Trump only got one fucking electoral vote in the last election from this state. Okay, I realize that, but still, you know, Maine supports him, and there's still a lot of people that do. And there's, you know, and the state really is kind of split in half if you think about it. There's the northern part of the state really is red more than anything, and the southern part is blue. So we have a purple state, if you want to be sort of technical about it. But we're never really blue, okay? But a lot of people in MAGA here, or that live in this state, you know, some of them might face the music here if they're doing anything that ICE can deem as unlawful. Come and kick your fucking door in and do anything, you know. Hey, so I don't know. Like I said, this was a really kind of silly article that, you know, I was reading. It's like, you know, come on, guys. You're making it sound like Trump just started the presidency this month. He's been in office for a year now, and it's like, you know, Christ, where the hell have you been? Oh, anyway, okay, let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist,
And this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
I think between the couple, girl, but I am a few person of your love. So I believe in you when you said you had love. It's infinite.
Good evening. I left the previous Aegis network behind, but not the news. Trump wants Greenland, so history lesson.
Submarine schemes. He didn't check the map, he didn't check the date, he didn't know about the friendship at the Northern Gate. 50 years of whiskey, 50 years of schnapps. We swapped the bottles and we drew the maps. So get your hands off. Whoa, we are not for sale. Hands off. Whoa, yeah, the deal will fail. We drew a line on the rock where the whiskey flows, and that's as far as the orange man goes. So keep your hands off. Ursula called from the Brussels High Command. She said, don't you dare touch a pebble of that land. The French sent the roosters crying sacre bleu, with cannons loaded up with the finest fondue. The British sent the corgis from the palace grounds to bark at the carriers and chase the hounds. It's a global party, it's a furry wall of might. We're teaching the orange man how to pick a fight. So get your hands off. We are not for sale. Hands off. Yeah, the deal will fail. We drew a line on the rock where the whiskey flows, and that's as far as the orange man goes. So keep your hands off. The Marines hit the beach in their shiny plastic boats, but they didn't count on the polar bear moats. The tanks slipped and slid on a maple syrup slick, while the beavers dismantled them brick by brick. He waved his check at the frozen sky, said everyone has a price to buy, but the puffin looked him right in the eye. Your credit is declined. So get your hands off. We are not for sale. Hands off. Yeah, the deal will fail. We drew a line on the rock where the whiskey flows, and that's as far as the orange man goes.
A few months ago, when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, there were people that made fun of it. And in the wake of that, people in the MAGA movement, people on the far right, got these people fired. As a matter of fact, there was a TikTok account dedicated to finding people's employers, putting that information online, and making sure that enough people called employers that they got fired. I think we should return the favor in the wake of the shooting in Minneapolis. And I can't think of a better place to start than with this piece of shit right here. This guy offered the following post on Facebook. It's a Craigslist ad for the car that Renee Good was shot in. You can see here that the ad lists the Honda Pilot as used. It's $500 or best offer. And it says here in the description, selling my sister's used 07 Honda Pilot maroon, 2 bullet holes in the windshield and some damage to front, selling as is for $500 or best offer, preferably to a Somali family in need. That is what she would have wanted. And then he wrote at the top, too soon, I don't give a fuck. All she had to do was mind her own business and go about her day, but she chose to obstruct ICE in their official capacity and then attempt to run over an agent. I have sympathy for her children and for her family, but like they say, fuck around and find out. That was the day of the shooting. But like he said, fuck around and find out. So, boys and girls, this is Michael Lambert. This is his public Facebook page. He lists himself as a digital creator in Chesterfield, Illinois. He also makes public his Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok handle. This is his TikTok. He lists himself as a dump trucker, and he posts public videos of where he works and who he works for. And that would be Chung Industries, LLC in Godfrey, Illinois. Here's their US DOT number. It would be a shame if people flooded Chung Industries, LLC with phone calls to let them know what kind of piece of shit they have working for them. Oh, the hypocrisy that this dude works for a company owned by, at a minimum, Asian Americans, if not a foreign-owned company outright, as it's listed in the Asian American Chamber of Commerce for the area. Once again, the information. Once again, the information. And before anybody comes into the comment section and starts leaving idiotic comments like that's doxing, no, it's not. He made all of that information public on his own social medias. All I had to do was connect the public dots that he put out there. And this is acceptable, right, MAGA? I mean, this is what you guys were doing a few months ago. You were getting scores of people fired. There was an entire TikTok account with, I think, millions of followers dedicated to finding anybody who spoke ill of Charlie Kirk and getting them fired. So when we do it now, it's cool, right? You guys don't have a problem with it, since this is now what we're doing in America. Let's see if this guy likes the find out phase of the fuck around and find out.
We quit smoking. Well, I'm not smoking. And I didn't think anybody could do that. 15,000 cigarettes a year times 35 years.
So I've been smoking for 45 years. It's the easiest thing in the world to quit. I've done it 1,000 times.
Cigarette helps you break the nicotine addiction, and it works in as little as 7 days.
I smoked 43 years. I quit just like that.
I thought I was just going to go nuts wanting a cigarette. I never did. I was just wonderful.
5 packs a day for a while. I'm doing great now.
She bought it and said, try it, and I reluctantly, half-heartedly tried it. But it was so easy that just breezed through it. Didn't have the urge to eat anymore.
As a matter of fact, I lost about 2 pounds.
No way did I want to gain weight, and I lost.
When they offered that money-back guarantee, I thought I just have to try it.
No matter how much you smoke, no matter how long you've been smoking, with Cigarette you'll quit or your money back. Guaranteed. All for hundreds of dollars less than other major programs.
On the other programs, I guess I spent around $2,500 to $3,000.
When you think of the price, it's just amazing.
Think of what you can do with $1,000.
Well, I figured it up at 25 cents a packet. I could have bought 2 of the homes that I live in now.
And without smoking, we've got a few more years to go together.
Tell them to do what I did, just order it.
I'd say pick up that phone like I did and call the toll-free number.
Order your cigarettes now. Call 1-800-872-9800. With the Cigarette program, you're guaranteed to stop smoking in as little as 7 days without withdrawal, without gaining weight, and without spending hundreds of dollars. To save COD fees, have your credit card ready and call toll-free 1-800-872-9800 or send $19.95 plus $4 postage and handling to Cigarette, Box 4444, Carlsbad, California, 92008. Or call toll-free 1-800-872-9800 now.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet, Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it. It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back. All right, so here's this other article here from Reuters. It's entitled, U.S. Needs Greenland Because of European Weakness, Besant Says. Written by Nicholas Brown. European quote-unquote weakness necessitates U.S. control of Greenland for global stability, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said on Sunday, even as some lawmakers sounded alarms about the Trump administration's effort to acquire the Arctic territory held by Denmark. Speaking on NBC's Meet the Press program, Bessent said taking ownership of Greenland is crucial in a geopolitical chess match with Russia and China. He made the remarks a day after U.S. President Donald Trump vowed to implement tariffs on European Union members opposed to a U.S. acquisition, including Denmark, which has long been one of Washington's staunchest allies. Quote, "We are the strongest country in the world," unquote, Bessent said. Quote, "Europeans project weakness, U.S. projects strength," unquote. As tensions with the EU escalated on Sunday, Bessent said he believed European leaders would ultimately come around to the idea of U.S. control of Greenland. Quote, I believe that the Europeans will understand that this is best for Greenland, best for Europe, and best for the U.S., unquote, he said. The U.S. Treasury chief said he had not recently discussed with Trump whether he is still considering using emergency powers to justify using force to take Greenland, but doing so would be, quote-unquote, ridiculous, because there is no emergency in Greenland, said Senator Rand Paul, a Kentucky Republican who chairs the U.S. Senate Homeland Security Committee. Quote, the idea by the secretary that, oh, this is to prevent an emergency, now we're declaring emergencies to prevent emergencies, unquote. Paul, who has long been a vocal opponent of aggressive U.S. efforts overseas, said on Meet the Press. The Senate Homeland Security Committee may push a war powers resolution limiting Trump's ability to use force, or a resolution challenging his use of tariffs, Senator Tim Kaine, a Virginia Democrat, said in the same interview. Paul was not the only Republican on Sunday to challenge his party's president. U.S. Representative Mike Turner, an Ohio Republican, said the tariff gambit could threaten relations with NATO allies. Quote, this is not the art of the deal, unquote, Turner said on CBS Face the Nation program, referencing the title of Trump's 1987 book. Quote, this is more like the dating game. This certainly isn't the type of language someone should be using when asking someone to join you in a partnership, unquote. But Texas Republican Senator John Cornyn characterized Trump's tariff threat as a negotiating tactic. Quote, sometimes he believes in strategic ambiguity and talks in terms that gets people's attention. But ultimately, I think there's a deal to be made, unquote, Cornyn said on the Fox News Sunday program. Other lawmakers, including Senators Chris Van Hollen, a Maryland Democrat, and Ted Cruz, a Texas Republican, pointed to Greenland's natural resources as potential motivation for acquiring it, although they diverge on whether Trump has made a credible argument for the U.S. to absorb the territory. Cruz, speaking on Fox News, quote, Sunday Morning Futures program, cited Greenland's minerals as one of the, quote, enormous economic benefits, unquote, of acquiring it, although he also pointed to the country's strategic location. Quote, it is overwhelmingly in the U.S. interest to acquire Greenland, unquote, Cruz said. Speaking on ABC News' This Week program, Van Hollen accused Trump of dishonesty about Greenland's national security value and said that the president only cares about the territory's natural resources. Quote, the president is lying to the American people when he says this is about security, unquote, Van Hollen said. Well, look, let's see here. If this is really only about resources, acquiring resources, then why start this off with a stick? Okay, why can't Trump, well, I know why. Okay, this is a rhetorical question because I already know the answer, but why can't Trump just start with the negotiating table and say, look, we can help each other out here, okay? If we can have some of your minerals, we can arm your territory. If Greenland was really in danger, which it's not, okay? But just for argument's sake, we'll just say, we can give you some armaments, to help protect your land and stuff, and when we can have some of your minerals and stuff like that, okay? And we both get something out of it, Why come at them and say we're taking it because there's an emergency out there when there isn't one? Like it said in the article, there is no fucking emergency right now, not with Greenland. Okay, and I'm not sure where the China element or the argument really comes into play when considering where Greenland is on the map. Okay, that's anybody's guess, but the idea that, right now where Russia is mired in conflict with Ukraine, I don't think Russia's looking that far ahead right now, okay? They might be thinking of that in years to come, but at this point, I think Greenland is safe, and they don't really have much to worry about, as far as Russia goes. But like I said, if Greenland feels like they're naked and against adversaries, the United States can help them out in that regard. They don't have to go in there with guns blazing and start seizing land and territory to build. Talk to them. Come to the fucking table and say, look, we can help each other out here with this. You know, like they said, Denmark and the United States have been allies for a long, long fucking time. Okay? We never had any problems with that country before. Okay? And now, all of a sudden, we got a dingbat for a president, and he's creating problems between our two countries. He's creating them that weren't there before. Okay? He's trying to bully this little country because, hey, he knows they can't withstand an attack from the United States, and he's already calling all of Europe weak, which, from what things that I've been watching lately, okay, Europe is arming itself to the teeth here, okay, starting with Germany. Germany is getting really more militarized now than ever before, and, the UN will be looking at Germany to be the asset that the United States once was for military might. Okay, so let's put that on the table. The Europe is not weak. Okay, they're preparing for whatever the hell they think is coming, either from us or from Russia. Okay, so let's not delude ourselves into thinking that Europe is weak. That's coming out of Trump's mouth, and Trump doesn't know anything about shit. Okay, he doesn't know a goddamn thing. But from what I'm seeing, the world leaders, they're saying, fuck the United States, we're going to take care of ourselves. Japan's another country doing that. And, hey, so the idea that Europe is weak is laughable, okay? But as far as the United States goes, and Trump, how he's approaching this issue here with Greenland is really abhorrent, okay? It's really sad. That he feels like he has to bully his way into that country, just to take it. Take it from Denmark, okay? Like, oh, well, because you're weak, we deserve to have that land. Right makes, a might makes right. You know what I'm saying? That kind of idea. Yeah, that worked during the old days, the Roman Empire and shit like that, okay? But how long did that empire last? Okay, how long did that kind of thinking last, and what good did it do in the end? Okay, we're supposed to be evolved from that to think differently, but apparently some of us did not pay attention in history class, okay, about things like that, and United States will pay the price if it decides to go in there with guns blazing, okay? There will be consequences, and everybody's saying as much, especially, like, what was it, like, I think it was, Cuba, who was kind of rattling the sword, if you come into our country, okay, everybody's is getting really prepared, thinking that Trump's going to show up at any time, anywhere, with military forces to claim territory or seize countries, okay, just because he thinks that the United States can do it, we should. Well, if everyone thought like that, then we'd still be in World War II, wouldn't we? The World War II never would have ended if people still thought like that. But here we are, and apparently we still got some people in this country that think along those lines, so they obviously learned nothing from World War II or any of the kind of similar wars that happened after that. They didn't learn a goddamn thing, and that's what I'm saying about people that don't read history are doomed to repeat it. And Trump's going to do everything he can to repeat history. He's going to start another global war here, but we're going to be the ones on the bad side of history, okay? It's not going to be the Nazis, it's going to be us this time. And Germany, oddly enough, may be the country that's going to lead the fight against the United States. Okay, fighting us. So, see how weird things can happen when you don't learn from history? How things the tables turn, and with what was once the good guys is now the bad guys, and the bad guys are now the good guys. Things like that only happen when people don't pay attention to mistakes made long ago. That's what happens. That's why we shouldn't let Republicans take history and just throw it to the fucking garbage. Okay? Because when you do that, you're condemning all the fucking generations to come to repeating every fucking mistake that ever happened in this world that created such devastation, such misery. Okay? You're condemning a continuation of things that we thought we could have avoided after World War II ended. Okay? People talk about American imperialism. Well, certainly with Trump in the White House, that's become very apparent, more so than ever. Okay, you could say we were doing that during Vietnam, butting our nose into a civil war over there that we didn't have any reason to be there fighting in the first place. Okay, it was their fight to have, and we were just paranoid about China taking that country, that we went there using Vietnam as a de facto land to fight and defend. But we know how that turned out. We have the right people now in office to recreate that whole situation all over again. So how many more walls are we going to have in D.C. with names on it from people who didn't make it back? Okay. I think, what happened over time is that we say we honor these people who died in World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War, okay? We honor all these people, but we kind of lost the emotion that went behind it, the sadness of having lost hundreds of thousands of people in these wars, okay? American lives. And instead of we just mouth, oh, we honor these people, we forget that, yeah, they were people. They were really alive, had lives, had wives, had families. These were real people. They're not just names on a wall. These were real people. So these people can't comprehend that kind of loss. Nobody can. All right? So that's why we keep having these wars, is because we figure, well, we honor them, and that means we can sacrifice lives as long as we honor them. The thing of it is that people have to understand that what we are supposed to do is work to avoid those catastrophes, so we don't have to worry about the lives lost and honoring all these people after death. Okay? That's what we're supposed to do as human beings. We're not savages, even though some people would argue against me against that, okay? We're not supposed to be savages. We're supposed to be smarter than the average animal out there, okay? And we have no obligation to act like we are Genghis Khan, okay? This is not, this is not the distant past. We have supposed to learn things along the way here, okay? And to just throw that all aside, just to say, well, we're mighty and we should take your land, okay, that's rejecting centuries of fucking live and learn, fuck around and finding out. Okay, you're throwing that all away for all these people that died back then, so we could have that ability now to try to avoid. You're telling them, fuck you. We honor you, but fuck you. Okay, we don't care that you died in that war. Okay, that was your war. It ain't ours. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what we're saying, is that, yeah, we'll give them honors and fireworks and flags and all kinds of shit, but we're going to walk right into the next war and we're going to forget all about all that crap, while we send more people off to die. That's what we've been doing in this country, And so to be a veteran, in the military or something, these people, by and large, know the sacrifice. They know the loss, okay? These people don't see just names on the wall, they see faces. The rest of us who didn't fight, okay, we can't comprehend the loss of that many people. We don't even know what that looks like, okay? I mean, that's why we had, after 9/11, so many people were so upset and everything. I mean, those people in New York, all right, because they were there. They saw the fucking shit unfold. Okay, to them, that's always going to be something in their mind that they'll remember, and when they honor it, it will be a real emotion to do what by putting their names up or something like that. They will generally be sorrowful. Okay, whereas those people that were born after 9/11 will only know of it by the pages written about it, okay? So they won't really know what that experience was like, But that's what I mean, is we've lost that with a lot of these things, and that's why we end up in these fucking fights and this bullshit here with our government sitting here saying, well, because we're stronger, we should take Denmark, Greenland. Okay. Yeah, like I said, if people still thought that way in the world, there never would have been an end to World War II. We'd still be at it to this day, fighting the same fucking war all these years later, okay? But we knew enough back then when to call it quits, okay? And we helped the countries that were decimated by the war to rebuild, okay? And we honored those people that made it possible for us to push tyranny back in the corner. And here we are allowing tyranny to rear its ugly fucking head right in our own goddamn country after everything we did in World War II to fight against it. We're letting it live right here in our own country. I mean, that must be the worst feeling for any World War II vet to be going through right now, to see that happening right here in our own goddamn country. So what the hell did we fight that war for if everybody forgot why we fought it? Okay? I don't know. All right, here's this final article here I'm going to read here today. This is from The Guardian, written by Depa Parent and William Christou, entitled, "He Hoped Trump's Help Would Arrive, Why Protesters in Iran Feel Betrayed." When Donald Trump said he would, quote-unquote, rescue protesters if Iranian authorities started shooting, Savash Shirzad believed the U.S. president. The 38-year-old father had seen protests rise up before, only to be brutally crushed by authorities. But this was the first time in his life that the president of the United States had promised to help demonstrators. Reassured, Shirzad took to the streets, ignoring his family's warnings and joining the growing crowds. Authorities started shooting, but no help came. On January the 8th, the internet was shut off and Iran went dark. Shirzad was shot at a protest in Tehran and died of his wounds hours later, leaving behind a 12-year-old son. Savash hoped until the, quote, this isn't quotes, I'm sorry. Quote, Savash hoped until the very end that Trump's help would arrive, unquote, his cousin said, speaking anonymously for fear of repercussions. Quote, we told him, don't go, it's dangerous. But he gave a firm answer. Trump said he supports us, I'm going, unquote. On Tuesday, Trump urged Iranians to keep protesting and to, quote, take over your institutions, unquote, telling them, quote, help is on its way, unquote, as reports grew that a strike on Iran was imminent. But just a day later, Trump abruptly did an about-face, telling reporters that he had received assurances that Iranian authorities would not execute anyone walking back from military intervention in Iran, at least temporarily. In Iran, protesters despaired. Despite Trump's reassurances, killings of demonstrators continued. The streets of Tehran were empty, except for pickup trucks with armed security forces patrolling where tens of thousands had marched just days before. Protests continued in provinces outside the capital, but getting an accurate picture of their scale was difficult amid the communications blockout. Quote, mass arrests are taking place. As soon as Trump's attention moves elsewhere, the executions will start, unquote, a resident of Tehran said in messages forwarded to The Guardian via an activist. Iran doubled down on the prosecution of protesters, with state TV on Thursday airing footage of forced confessions and Iran's Chief Justice interrogating detained protesters. Rights groups warned that protesters would probably not receive fair trials and that they had grave concerns over the conditions in which the detainees were held. Quote, past patterns in Iran demonstrate that periods of widespread unrest are accompanied by heightened abuses inside detention facilities, where these groups are particularly vulnerable to extrajudicial killing, enforced disappearance, torture, and other forms of ill treatment, unquote. More than 30 rights groups wrote in a joint letter on Thursday. However, the authorities refrained from executing protesters, most notably canceling the death sentence of the 26-year-old protester Irfan Sultani, and announced no hangings would take place. Trump seemed pleased, sharing news that Sultani's execution would not take place. Iranians and the diaspora felt betrayed. For 2 weeks, they watched a brutal crackdown on the streets of Iran. Messages from family came infrequently, if at all, and Trump's statement that, quote, help is on the way, unquote, seemed their only lifeline. Quote, as someone living in the diaspora, this feels like a slap in the face, unquote, said Ilham, an Iranian living in Sydney. Quote, Iranians have been let down before. This time there was a sense it was going to be different, unquote. Too many Iranians abroad, too many Iranians abroad, Trump's about-face felt like a victory for the Iranian regime. Instead of helping topple the Iranian government as protesters demanded, he was going to negotiate with them. The comments on Wednesday by the foreign minister Abbas Araghchi on Fox News urging the U.S. to engage in diplomacy only furthered their fears. Quote, if Trump gives the regime a lifeline, it will be such a profound betrayal from which ordinary Iranians won't recover. It will be the end of hope. Many talk of Trump's unpredictability, but using innocent lives for political theater is intolerable, unquote, said Ilham. Even as U.S. forces pulled back from bases in the Middle East and indicators of a U.S. strike gathered, it was unclear what Trump planned to do in Iran. Though unprecedented, nationwide protests had not threatened the short-term stability of the Iranian state, which has well-armed and trained security forces. A strike on Iran could trigger retaliation on Israel and the United States without necessarily shielding protesters from harm. Other Iranian analysts warn that U.S. intervention could further the accusation that protests are foreign-backed without giving meaningful benefit to the demonstrators' aims. Nonetheless, Iranians abroad and inside the country hope that the world would do something to help, even if they were unsure of what. Quote, the people of Iran believed him. They placed their trust in his words. If he fails to act against this brutal regime, that trust will be broken, and the people of Iran will not forget who stood with them and who turned away, unquote, said Azam Jangravi, an Iranian based in Canada whose close friend was killed in protest in Isfahan last week. Again, anybody who associates or does any dealings with Trump always gets burned. Unfortunately, Iran, the people in that country don't know Trump the way we do here in the United States. So to think that, Trump was going to come to their aid, is laughable. It's like, why would he try to put down, a revolution in a country that, we could be at war with tomorrow? All right, why would he do that? I mean, why would he try to help them out, in any way or something? It would start something that he couldn't control. Okay. Now, I mean, he's sitting here sounding off like, oh, I support the protesters and yada, yada, yada. Okay. At the same time, these people over there, which, really the protests were a lot about the economy in that country falling down, okay? Because, it's like what happened in Germany before, after World War I, okay? Their money don't mean shit. That's kind of what's fueling the protests over there. But Trump, this should have been like, oh, well, Iran is falling apart, and so let's... we'll say we'll help these people out, okay? Which, for whatever reason, might have been a better way to topple the Iranian government, okay? However, turning your back on the people after you said you were going to help only makes them more furious with the United States, okay? It's just like when we decided we're not going to help Ukraine anymore, okay? He's done that before, you see. He's a guy who says he's going to do something and then he doesn't do it. And like I said, with Iran, we could still be at war with them, or at least Israel and the United States at war with the country. we could still end up at war with them. So, you know, what the hell is Trump trying to accomplish here is my question. What was he trying to accomplish? You know, if he was actually committed to doing something for that country, why didn't he follow through with it? You know, if he was committed to helping these protesters out, why didn't he follow through with it? You know, I just don't understand. What the hell is he trying to do? I mean, it's his objectivity here is in question. I mean, we just don't know what the hell he was planning. And it's just as questionable, or they're just as dumbfounded in Iran about what Trump did at the last minute as we are here in the States. We don't know what the hell Trump was thinking. You know? He says he's going to do something, and whoop, you know, we're not doing it. Why? You know, what the hell was the reason? Of course, we're not going to get it. Okay, but somewhere along the way, Trump decided, no, you know, let Iran go ahead and slaughter all the fucking protesters, when we could have done something there to actually, you know, make it worse for Iran. We could have won Iran just by helping out what was, you know, the protesters were trying to do. We could have done something there. You know, we could have. I mean, I think it was the best way to approach it without really, you know, sending in the military. But, you know, like I said, I don't know what happened. What the hell, did Trump get a phone call from Putin or something and says, you know, you leave those people alone or we're going to bomb you? I don't know what the hell happened. Okay, but it really pissed off a lot of Iranians, and it's like, well, you know, I wish you guys could pay more attention to what goes on here, but, you know, of course, they got the internet blackout, right? You know, the leader there in Iran, you know, he's not letting anybody see news or anything like that, you know, going on outside the country. Okay, that's the same shit that Putin was pulling out there in Russia, you know, blocking all fucking communications from the outside world, okay, with the internet. I mean, that's what they've been doing. So Iran was doing the same fucking thing here. And so now we don't really know what's going on inside Iran right now, unless we got people on the ground that can see it. But, you know, I imagine that it's getting pretty brutal over there. I mean, they're probably, you know, people have fled from the capital area and stuff because they went in there militarily and they're just slaughtering protesters. So, you know, and at the same time, these people were hoping the United States would somehow intervene, you know. So I don't know. Like I said, the story that right there is really kind of, you know, confusing in a way, because it doesn't really answer the question as to why Trump pulled out at the last second. Okay, when if he was smart enough, he could have played that to his advantage and somehow got a crowbar under Iran's ass. You know, that might have done some good for settling a lot of fucking shit going on over there around Israel and whatever. But I don't know. Like I said, this guy was never qualified to be president. Okay, so mistakes, we have to expect there are going to be many more of them to come. All right, he's been making mistakes all fucking last year. Okay, he's been screwing up right and left. He's got no idea. He's got everybody in his base thinking about things happening in Minnesota, you know, with Governor Waltz and the scandal over there with the fucking money. Okay, he's got everybody distracted with that shit. Okay, when that's really an issue that's really of Minnesota, not the United States at large. Okay, but they're going to take that and paint this big, broad picture with that one brush to say, oh, we can't trust Democrats, while Trump is in the White House, a Republican, and he's putting the fucking to everybody in this country, not just Minnesota or Maine, okay, everybody, okay, and he's screwing up royally, destroying people's lives like you wouldn't believe, okay. So, like I said, you know, there's a perspective here that's gotten lost, I think, you know, to a degree recently. And I think that we need to keep our eye on the ball and stop being distracted by things that Trump wants us to be focused on, you know, to save his own hide, okay? Because the less we talk about the Jeffrey Epstein files, okay, that we know are out there, and we're still demanding to have them revealed to us. But like I said, we have to keep on with that, because that's his Achilles heel. That's where we can get him. He knows this. All right, and by not focusing or keeping our focus on that ball, you know, he'll try to get away with other things, you know. So it's important, you know, that we don't forget about that, because there are victims. They deserve to have justice, you know, for the crimes that Trump committed on them. And, you know, who are we to say they don't deserve to be heard, you know? It seems to me like that's something that Trump simply doesn't want to see, is their faces on the TV or on the news being interviewed by anybody, you know, especially what's at CBS. I mean, if it ever got out, they had interviewed, you know, Trump would call CBS and tell Weiss, no, you can't air that, okay? And she'd capitulate. So that tells you, you know, that's a big, big wound right there that, you know, Trump doesn't want to pull a scab off, because that's going to really be a problem for him. And like I said, we got to keep at it. We have to keep at it. All right, so that's it for today, and I hope everybody has a great rest of the week coming up, and subscribe, comment, and share, and keep your ears open for health-related issues, and, you know, help each other out, okay? These are times when Americans have to be Americans and pull together and help each other, because if we don't do that, you know, what the hell are we fighting for? You know, what the hell are we protesting for if we can't help each other out? I'll talk to you guys later, so take care.